Hey, welcome to Pastor Play. So today we're reviewing the greatest beer run ever in movie theaters now, and it's going to be streaming on Apple TV Plus this Friday, September 30th. It's starring Zac Efron, Bill Murray, Russell Crowe. It has a good cast. So basically the summary kind of is in 1967. You have this character John Chicky Donahue, who's played by Zac Efron. He leaves New York to track down his army buddies in Vietnam and to share a few beers with them. But instead, he's confronted with the horrors of the war for 8 weeks. Um, Even though in the film it doesn't seem like he's there for 8 weeks, it seems more like he's there for about a week or maybe like 5 days. But this is also based on the true story of John, Chicky Donahue, and it's the same thing, the greatest beer run ever. It's his memoir was written by John Chicky Donahue and J.T. Malloy. I have not read the book. They have been doing like some interviews with like the real guys of that this story is based on. So go check that out. I think it was done on like CBS or something. So you have Chicky that's played by Zac Efron. He's like very naive, but he says he could, and will, deliver the beer to his buddies from his Irish neighborhood, over in Vietnam. It's a promise, he says, and the people in the bar are rooting for him, except for like his one good friend Noodle. With I feel like common sense, who's like, don't do this. You're not really gonna do this. People are kind of egging him on, but it's like his friend's like, you're not really gonna do that, right? Um, Now, I would say that the sentiment is there, with Zac Efron's character, to let his friends know that they have the support of the neighborhood, um, and, people in the country for risking their lives, giving them something to fight for, good old American beer. Um, but like I say, it's the thought that counts. It's just he's going really far on that, thought and action kind of thing. Um, Chicky in the movie, he's not known for having great follow through. So again, so though he says he'll go to Vietnam, his friends actually think he won't pull it off, but people around the neighborhood, they start giving him, socks and different items to take over to the various troops of actual, people from the neighborhood to give to them, thinking like, right, the parents and different people are like, yeah, he's going to do it. His actual friends are like, they're just kind of busting his ball. They don't necessarily think that he's going to do it. Um, but once he starts receiving the gifts, he's like, it starts to become a daunting task. And, but, Chicky overall feels that, taking the beer to Vietnam is his contribution to the ongoing war when you got people protesting and protesting for people to come back home because of all the media coverage that it's getting, of all the, the bodies that are kind of the numbers of body totals that are racking up. And also his friend Tommy, his childhood friend Tommy dies in Vietnam. And Chicky, gave him advice to enlist in the army because Tommy was feeling kind of doubting his decision, and um, Chicky could see that, and he said, yeah, you're doing the right thing. You're fighting for your country. It's right. Even though I'm not sure if once you enlist in the army that you can unlist either. I thought that once you enlist, they don't let you do that, but I'm not sure on the rules. Um, But yeah, so Chicky does feel guilty to an extent that Tommy died. He feels like he was a part of his decision. Maybe if he hadn't, convinced him or kind of told him not to really doubt his decision, that maybe Tommy wouldn't have gone and he'd still be alive. And even though at one point too they have where they haven't found Tommy's body, so Chicky thinks, well, maybe Tommy's alive, but it turns out, eventually they do end up finding Tommy's body. So, he did die. But There's also this. There's a good scene where there's this fight that breaks out at a peaceful protest to bring the soldiers back home for war. Again because the death toll numbers are adding up, and one character gets knocked out cold, and just that overall scene is funny. And then now once Chicky gets to Vietnam, he has to figure out how to travel to other parts of the country because he's only a civilian. Only military and press can get around. And if not, it's just dangerous because people are getting killed. You got landmines, things like that. But somehow, by a stroke of luck, all the army captains think that he's CIA. He's a CIA informant, or he's working for the CIA. So he gets passage on a military helicopter to LC Jan, where more of his friends are stationed. And as he's traveling, he gets to one army base. He gives those certain friends beers. He gives other people too, but he's specifically looking for army people from a specific neighborhood. And so he, he gets to do that. And there's one scene where he gets to to basically in the war zone to try to get to one of his friends from his neighborhood. And he has that friend that he calls. He has to run 200 meters to get to where the captain and them are kind of set up. And Chicky's like, can you guys hold up this sheet, and I'll hide behind it and jump out with beers and surprise. And they like, no. And Chicky's a little kind of dense. He's a little dense on the reality of war. He was in the army. He signed up in the army when he was 18, but he was only stationed in Massachusetts. And when he's there with his friend who ran the 200 meters, they have to give him a gun. They were going to give him a gun because his friend has to run back to where he was, kind of like in that dugout hole, shooting at the other enemy. And so his friend is like, I wouldn't give him that gun. And the captain's like, where are you stationed? He said Massachusetts. And then they take the gun back from Chicky, Zac Efron's character. So that's really funny too. And then later on in the film, the real CIA tries to kill Chicky because he saw something that he shouldn't have saw. And Chicky, he runs away from them, and then manages to run in front of a military vehicle with one of the guys from his neighborhood again. This guy had luck. Again, I didn't read the book, so I don't know how much this is based on a true story. But the fact that this actually happened and he was able to get down there, get to these places, it's crazy. I guess he was blessed. I mean, it just seemed, it's kind of crazy. Um, and so the movie begs the question of, they talk about, the right to free press or the right to freedom of speech. And at the time, there was, some would say the propaganda of what the government was showing or what information was being seen. And, you count on the press to the press reports, the real truth. The government kind of gives its own narration of how they want things to be viewed as far as the American public is concerned. And so, you kind of have lies of the government slash the politicians, at the expense of the men and women that are fighting in the war. If they're lying about the reasoning of why this war is going on, people keep dying, and then you have more people who are compelled to join the army because they want to fight for their country. But what are they really fighting for their country, or are they fighting for some kind of government cover up, conspiracy, whatever it may be? Are they fighting for something, truth or lies? And at the end of the day, it's the press's job to tell the truth. And though Chicky character feels that, the press has been reporting kind of like a negative lens or perspective on the war, he learns from talking to actual press down there that they are supporting the troops they are supporting the troops and the country by telling the truth of what's going on, how it really is down there. So, hopefully people can see that and they can make informed decisions on, as you have all these young people signing up, 18, 19, 20, 21, who still have a long life to live. And if they go to that war and they end up dying, are they really dying for something, or are they just dying for nothing? And so, Chicky kind of has a reality check once he's actually in the war in Vietnam and the different places that he's going to see how it's, what's happening. Um, and then when the war hits Saigon, where he's waiting to try to get back home, Chicky sees people being shot and blown up in front of him. He starts to understand the realities and the truthfulness of war and what some of the press was trying to tell him in an earlier scene. Luckily, all the people that he gave beer to, they did live, and they're still friends to this day. They're still alive to this day, I believe. And luckily, none of them was too drunk and died, from the beers that he that he delivered. It seems that most of the people he tried to get to, he was able to get to, in his neighborhood and let them know that people are thinking about him at home and they care about them, and they're thank them for like serving the country. Um, and then two, I really like the New York accents. Zac Efron, all these characters had the nicknames like Noodle and Chicky and all these like it seems like something a bully would give instead of necessarily family and friends. And of course, nicknames are usually rooted in something that happened. They don't necessarily explain to you. If they did, I may have missed it why they call, Zac Efron's characters Chicky, why another one's called Noodle and all these different nicknames. But a lot of them just seem, kind of just like, I don't know. I mean, I guess they're nice. They're all friends. So apparently, friends and family and whatnot. So no one seems to be offended by the nicknames, but it's just interesting, but yeah. And then I also like to the Colonel played by Bill Murray, which you can kind of tell it's him, but you might miss him if you're not paying attention. He has some great one liners. I don't want to ruin them for you, so I'm not going to really say any of them. Um, but overall, Chucky grows as a person over the course of this film, from the laid back, stay out all night at the bar kind of guy that he is at the beginning. And I'm here. I would say if you I'm here for it. If you like a comedy with war themed actions that has a little bit of drama, then this may be the film for you. At the end of the day, I would say that this movie is a play for me. From beginning to end, it kept me engaged. It is based on a true story, so I mean, I think it helps going in knowing that. But you actually do see you do see how Zac Efron's character or Chicky grows, kind of grows and becomes more of an adult, by this experience. Um, and of course, I feel like if it was I wonder if it was like an African American person, would they get away with that? It's like, oh, you're a CIA agent. Okay, just let him go. Just let him get on a helicopter. I mean, it was interesting if that's really how it played out. I'm like, I mean, they could have technically been an enemy for the other side, and you just letting them go around saying, just assuming they're a CIA agent. But I guess if you were a CIA informant, you wouldn't just be outright saying I'm a CIA. Right? I don't know. It's just very interesting that he just got away with a lot of that because he was a CIA informant. So that was interesting. But it's like, okay, I guess that's the thing. I don't imagine if you try to do that now, would that really work? Um, and then two, I know they said that Zac Efron, he signed on to do like a Disney Plus remake of Three Men and a Baby with the mustache in this film. He honestly does look like Tom Selleck from the original Three Men and a Baby. So at least as far as the look with the mustache on, and at least in this film, I can see him maybe. I don't know if that's the character he's going to play or a version of that character by Tom Selleck, but he looks a lot like him, ironically, in this film. So I don't know if you feel old because if you saw him when you were younger, on High School Musical, you may feel old now that he's starting to play a dad. So, but either way, again, this movie is a play for me. If you don't want to see it in theaters, you can wait and watch it on Apple TV Plus. If you're a subscriber on there, it comes out this Friday again on the 30th. I'm not affiliated with Apple TV Plus. I'm just letting you know the information. But if you like this review, please hit the like button. Again, I'm trying to get 1,000 subscribers, hopefully by the end of the year. So subscribe if you haven't. I'm getting some decent views, but not as many subscribers. So I'm just throwing it out there. please subscribe. Hit that link to subscribe and get all my upcoming reviews. And over and out. Have a good rest of y'all night, day.